Hey guys, I'm Brad and I'm a game developer. I made Night of the Wendigo, Attack of the Jersey Drones, Data Rot, Quarter 5, and I asked you guys if you have any questions about game development. Brendan from Facebook asked, how do I get started into game development? And what types of software and coding do you use for the games you make? To answer that question today, I'm not going to talk about how do you get a job into game development. I'm going to assume that you're just asking, hey, how do I make a game? What software do you use? So the game engine I use is Unity. The software I use to do 3D models is Blender, and the software I use to color and texture and paint stuff in 3D models is called Substance Painter. You don't need to use those. There's a bunch of options that you could use for all of those. For example, there are a bunch of different game engines. You could use Unity, you could use Unreal Engine, you could use Godot. There's a bunch of options. For creating models, you could use Maya, you could use Blender, you could use a bunch of stuff. You could not only use Blender for the modeling, but you could also use it for texturing. You could use Substance Painter like me. There are a bunch of different options for everything. What I want to emphasize though is that there are a bunch of different tools that you can use to do the same thing. So try not to get too stuck in picking the right one. I'd say just pick one, and then later, if you want to explore other options, you can do that. Finally, for coding, because I use Unity as my game engine, I use C# for my coding. If you decide that you want to use Unity, but you don't want to force yourself to learn any coding, then within Unity, there are a bunch of options. Well, I don't know about a bunch, but there are some options for something called visual scripting, different types of visual scripting, where instead of like typing in letter by letter code, you're more drag and dropping nodes, and there's a similar thing for Unreal, but I'll talk about that in a different video. I hope that answers that question. I know that's pretty surface level for now, but in future videos, I'll talk more about how do you get a job in gaming, or I should say, how did I get a job in gaming? Because there are a bunch of different ways to do everything, so I can only speak for myself. If you have more questions, ask me more questions, and I will answer them. If you actually want to hear the answers to the questions, then I suggest you follow. I'll talk to you soon.